Hello everybody, how are you? I'm Perfume for today. I'm going to read a fairy tale from Forgotten Fairy Tales for Brave and Brilliant Girls. This story is called The Wise Princess. I'm going to read a little bit. This extra says this fairy tale is based on a very old English story. The same story inspired the famous playwright William Shakespeare when he wrote his play King Lear. Well, the story is about his three daughters. One day he told his daughters that he would give them rewards. Rewards, I mean that he would give them like rubies, jewelry, diamonds, money. And then he told one of his daughters he is stunned, he's surprised that he told him, I'm going to read this part. My father, she said, I love you as much as salt. The king forgot the necklace and stared at in surprise. At her in surprise, salt, he repeated. Disbelieving, Greta returned his gaze, undaunted. She knew she had spoken the truth. Yes, salt. The king leaned forward. Salt is for cooks, not kings. He warmed, shoving a finger in the air. Speak again. Greta shook her head, tongue-tied by her father's reaction. Her silence made the king explode with anger. You're not worthy to be a king's daughter, he thundered. Get out and don't come back. Cheeks burning, Greta fled. She ran from the castle, past fields and pastures, and woods into the wide lands beyond. Salty tears stained her face. She ran until she could run no more, and then she sat down to rest. Beside her, rushes nodded and waved on the shores of a lake. Greta scooped up a handful of cool water splashed her face. Then she looked around, wondering what to do next. She had never been so far from home alone before. I can't go back, so I must go on, she told herself, trying to feel brave, but where? A sudden gust of wind blew up, sending ripples racing across the lake. Greta shivered. Her fine silk gown was no protection against the weather. Brrr, I wish I had a cloak, she thought. Watching the rushes rustle and sway in the wind. That gave her an idea. She picked an armful of brushed leaves and stems and set to work. Patiently, she braided and wove and braided until at last, when the sun sank, she finished on her lap what she had made a long cloak with a stiff, pointed hood made entirely of rushes. Here you can see her cloak. Greta is very smart, but now her fingers were numb with cold. Quickly she pulled on the cloak. It was rough and prickly, unlike anything she had worn before, but it felt warm. She glanced at her reflection in the lake with the cloak clutched around her. Her fine clothes were all hidden. She looked like any poor country servant. That gave her an idea. If I look like a servant, perhaps I can work as one. Then I'm going to read maybe the last part, that she worked as a servant. I guess it was like a cottage, something like that. I don't remember. She worked as a cook, but she has to gain her place. She made delicious food for this man that it was one of was someone she knew. I'm going to read a part that her father goes to it here because he was one of his friend's fathers. So It says, the king shook his head. Please, there is no need to apologize. In fact, it has been a wonderful meal, for it has told me something important. His voice cracked, and he paused for a moment to rub his eyes before continuing. I only wish my youngest daughter was here. I only wish my youngest daughter was here, so that I could tell her. His voice trailed off, leaving the room in silence. At the moment Greta stepped forward, pulled off the tattered rush cloak which had concealed her fine dress for so long, and looked boldly up at the king. Here I am, father, she said, in a soft, clear voice, looking and sounding every inch a princess. Again, the Lord gaped in amazement. I'm going to read this part, only this part. I was foolish and proud, and did not understand the words you spoke. Now I realize you were wiser than I knew. Truly, a love like salt is the most precious of all, for without it, everything is dull and without taste. This happened before. I'm going to give you some context. She gave him food that had no taste, and that's why she did that to her father, for him to realize that something without salt, without flavor, it means nothing. It has no taste. So that's it. Hope you like it. Bye bye.